السلام عليكم. صباح الخير, good morning, bonjour. Welcome to our first AI Armchair activation on how AI can give you superpowers. Yes, exactly, that's the energy. My name is Roda Al-Marekhi. I'm the Associate Director of Outreach at Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. ترى بتعود الحين عقب كل جملة تصفقولي. شكراً, thank you. So Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence is the first specialized institute dedicated to artificial intelligence in the world here in Abu Dhabi. تعود خلاص. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I would like to welcome Mr. Sultan Al-Hajji, our Vice President of Public Affairs and Alumni Relations on stage. Borashid, حياك.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, curious young minds, and fellow enthusiasts of the future, good morning, and bonjour for some of you. A very warm welcome to this special event dedicated to the unlimited wonder of artificial intelligence. As we view it today, AI can seem like a modern scientific marvel, but in truth, its potential and its utility rests with you, the people in this room. Your curiosity and your co-creation will do more than anything to shape the future and the role that AI plays in defining tomorrow and the future.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good to see you.
All right.
Let's have a seat.
Wow, so exciting to be here. What an amazing audience.
I think this audience is beating AI.
I saw the cards go up, like all of you have been using ChatGPT pretty much to do your homework. All right, so I think let's get started.
Let's get started. First of all, welcome everybody. This is an amazing event. This is the first AI Armchair event hosted by the Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. My name is Holly, and we have a very special guest, Marco Tempest, here with us. And I think what we're going to do today is we're going to do talk about really cool stuff on AI. You'll learn a lot of things that are going to give you superpowers.
So we have a few things up on the screen here, you know, LLMs, the metaverse, robots, AI. We're going to try to talk about all of these topics and answer quite a few of your questions. So there's going to be a conversation. Maybe by a show of hands, like who in the audience, yeah, show your hand. Who in the audience is using other AI tools besides ChatGPT? Wow, okay,
Almost
so this is a real expert audience, so we can go very high level.
I think it has to be a very mature presentation. We need to talk about in-depth technology today.
Terrific. So maybe we can start with yourself and
yeah.
Go ahead.
So let me quickly introduce myself. So again, I'm Hao, just call me Hao. I'm an associate professor at a new university. It's called Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence here in Abu Dhabi. That's one of its first. And I'm also director of a newly formed research center. And I'm going to show a couple of behind the scenes here today. At the same time, I also run a startup company. It's based in Los Angeles. It's called Pinscreen. And I'll also show a couple of demos on that today. So We're going to talk a lot about artificial intelligence today. And I think what we want to cover is where can we find AI? What is it good for? How does it even work? And what are the things that kind of inspires us? So let me start off with why I think we should do what we're doing. I think Sultan already mentioned a little bit about, like, why are we here? I think we're here to basically see how we can do things we can't do in real life. That's the thing that inspires me the most. And the first thing that you think about artificial intelligence, it's like this, this system, this AI, this robot that is going to help humans, right? And after the Industrial Revolution, people started to mass manufacture things, and this is kind of like how factories look like, right? And this doesn't look very human to me. And so what people are thinking about, why we're building technology, is, for instance, the first wave of automation is to use program robots to perform certain tasks. This is not even near what's kind of AI capabilities we have today, right? You're basically programming arms to perform a boring, repetitive task again and again. But where we are now today, and I'm going to show a really cool technology, this is in the space of deep learning. There is a subfield called reinforcement learning. And what it does differently is that you're not programming the task. You're basically showing, by example, the AI is capable of learning what you're doing through sensors, tasks that only humans can perform. And what's really amazing is that you can do task again, and here we can show that it's solving Rubik's Cube, and I think we're going to have some special tricks later with Rubik's Cubes that I think hopefully Marco is going to show us. But, talking about robots, the obvious application here is, what about I don't need to drive anymore, or have cars that allows me to drive safer? Our cars nowadays are packed with sensors and artificial intelligence, right? Most specifically, a lot of these algorithms are called computer vision. Just look at the cars. It's full of cameras, radar sensors, GPS, laser sensors. All these kind of sensors are basically measuring things that we as humans don't have, right? I mean, we have vision, we have other kinds of sensors, but we're basically also giving superpowers to cars. And it's not just about these kind of technologies I want to show you today. I want to show you something that I'm really passionate about, which is creativity. How can we use these technology in creative applications? I've been actually working back then at a company called Industrial Light and Magic, so they're behind technologies like Star Wars and all these things, and we're using computer vision heavily to make special effects in movies possible. Here's an example from Iron Man. So the guy is actually wearing these marker suits. It looks like a like a pajama in some ways, and you're using very sophisticated algorithms to track where these dots are going, so that you can actually retarget these kind of movements back to the Iron Man's person, right? So he's actually not wearing this armor, which would be incredibly heavy, but it's a really convenient way to do all these special effects. But every one of you is actually using artificial intelligence heavily. If you don't notice, whenever you're unlocking your camera, it has a very sophisticated depth sensor that's incorporated into it, and what it does is face recognition. It recognizes it is you, and allows you to very conveniently open up your iPhone without pressing the button. And if any one of you is, checking something out on social media, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever, I'm pretty sure you've probably seen one of these Disney cartoon filters that turning you into some, different characters. But behind this is a very sophisticated artificial intelligence algorithm that basically translate pixels that it's seeing, a photograph, an image frame that it's seeing, into a completely different thing. The AI is reimagining another person's face. And I'm going to show you some technologies behind that today, how we can actually turn into whoever we want to, right? So these are some of the things that we're working in our lab.
So this is a super interesting exposition of how AI is going in every area of our lives. I'm super curious. I've been a big fan of your work for a really long time. I'm very interested to learn maybe a little bit about what brought you here into this armchair. I kind of like your story and your background, your research and body of work.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I think back in the 90s, I turned on the TV and, or my parents brought me to the theaters. And then the thing that I think brought me here today is that one movie. It's called Jurassic Park. And nowadays you see that, it's just like computer, special effects, right? But back then, when I saw that, I was like, this is incredible.
I mean, like, you guys are probably too young to know this, but like, when this came out, people would go to the movie again and again to see the dinosaurs.
I went there 3 times.
Yeah, it's like, it was just like...
It is something that is not possible that makes it look like it's real. And the technology behind it is a computer software that simulates how this thing appears in reality and looks real. That was, this form of illusion that, really fascinated me and needed to learn more about this. And then afterwards, more interesting effects were possible, right? So Planet of the Apes was another example where a human performance was translated into, in this case, a chimp, right? So, I really wanted to understand how can you actually track these performance, extract, how we behave, how we can bring creatures to life. I think bringing things to life, that was the thing that really fascinated me. So back then, I went to Switzerland at a school called ETH Zurich. And way before you had like technologies like Kinect and all these things, we built, this is like me like 20 years ago, almost the same hairstyle. So we had these, we built these machines that actually see 3 dimensions, right? So on the upper right, you can see these are like 3D depth cameras that don't just see colors, they see the depth in 3D. And we're wondering what we could do with it, right? And it could only scan that little area, so we thought, how about we use this technology to solve the problem we saw in movies, which is tracking faces. So I wish, it would have been incorporated into many movies, but ended up the technology is actually something that's in your pocket, probably. The Animoji technology, so Apple acquired, the company that actually built this, and then this PhD work kind of became a consumer product.
I think this is just so interesting to see one example of how research making it into a product, like this, what we call like applied research. If you can actually work on research, then changes a certain part of the world or how we interact with technology.
Right, so I think the thing is, when you work on these visual things, you get automatically a lot of attention. And I did spend some time at a company called Lucasfilm. So it's the company behind, Star Wars. And, I was working on these real-time performance capture technologies for virtual production. I also worked at another company. It's based in New Zealand. It's called Weta Digital. And if you've heard of the movie Fast and Furious, the 7th release, Furious 7, Paul Walker unfortunately died in a car accident. And his family, they really wanted him to actually see him again on the big screen. And his brothers actually were the actors in that movie. So what we did is we developed the technology using computer vision, not AI that we have nowadays, to basically track his brother's face and turn him into him again, right? And so that was a very emotional thing to do. So that's kind of like how you can see how it looks like, right? So this is actually his brother. And we created all these 3D effects to actually bring his brother back to life. I became a professor afterwards at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. And we were scanning actors using these multi-view photometric stereo technologies. So this is like a big piece of equipment. And that's what you can do. You can get like actors down to the pore level and scan them. But then, artificial intelligence is, really changed everything. Since 2015, 16, we started to think about, the future is not you using a lot of hardware equipment. It has to be something that is accessible to everyone. So I founded a company called Pinscreen, where the idea is anyone can create like an avatar. And here's a quick demonstration of how that works. You basically just take a photo of yourself. This is an early prototype of that. And within a minute, you can actually, the AI generates, so it's extracting the likeness of a person and using generative AI to generate a complete avatar. So imagine you're playing, I don't know, GTA, and then it's yourself in it, or you can play, soccer games or football games with your friends, with actually themselves in it. So that's actually a technology you can actually try out. It's actually a new beta release that we have recently put out. It's called Avatar Neo. You can download it on avatarneo.com. Yeah, so I think...
Amazing work. So maybe I talk a little bit about myself.
Absolutely.
Like a quick introduction of myself. You already heard, my name is Tempest. I'm a Director's Fellow at the MIT Media Lab and a creative consultant with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Now, I work with augmented and virtual reality, gestural sensing, robotics, AI, and a whole host of other interesting technologies to create experiences that are clear, memorable, and sometimes seemingly impossible. Now, for the past 5 years or so, I was the extended reality lead consultant at Accenture, one of the world's leading professional services companies. I helped Accenture build their own corporate metaverse, an immersive collaboration platform that enables rapid prototyping of future technologies, a tool to forward think what could happen in the very near future and work with companies and their customers to experiment on these technologies. Now, that all sounds very interesting, but I thought I would show you something maybe live and show you some of these technologies in action. So what I brought with me today is a little AI teleporter or a portal, an AI portal. I'm gonna step over here and try this out. Now this is gonna be a little bit of a delay on the screen, so let's see if we can get this to work. To show you also a little bit of my background of how I got where I am right now. So can we bring up that system? So there's a little bit of a delay, don't let that bother you. And here we go. So I began my career, and maybe we have some audio. I began my career as a techno-illusionist. Techno-illusion was the term I used to explain the interaction between technology and illusion to create new and impossible experiences. Let me show you an example. First, we need some light. So what you're seeing here is real. Yeah? It's an illusion created by the techniques of an illusionist. But if we add a layer of digital imagery, we create a hybrid between technology and illusion. Now this augmented reality layer, the sparkles, are not a simple overlay. They're reacting directly to my gestures here in the room, and they're as real as this floating ball of light. So you could say there is one reality here, which you probably see how that works, and another reality on the screen. So it is this combination of theatrical illusion and technology that has fascinated me for most of my life. Now, magicians actually have always been early adopters of technologies, illusionists, early adopters of technologies, actually secret adopters. We use new technologies in our performances before they become known to the public. And we can trace a path through the history of illusion and engineering and see how emerging technologies have been covertly used to create these illusions. These include the use of pneumatics and hydraulics by the magicians of ancient Greece, chemistry by the 16th century illusionists posing as alchemists, electromagnetism used by the 19th century French magician Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, optics to create holograms on the Victorian stage, wireless technology as a means of secretly transmitting information by vaudevillian mind readers, and the grandest illusion of all, cinema pioneered by illusionist Georges Méliès. All right, we can switch away from the system. So I hope this gives you, thank you. I hope this gives you a little bit of a feel of what got me to where I am today. All right. And I would actually love to talk a little bit about your work here at the university. It's so incredible to have so nearby one of the only institutions in the world which is dedicated to research in this field. Though.
You know what's funny? Like, I think what you're just demonstrated is kind of really close to what the research that we're developing for, but it seems like you already have it. So, so as a research, I mean, what do we do as research scientists, right? We're basically building fundamental technologies that turn into products driven by visionaries or people who are exploring what you can do with these things. So we work with, different kinds of people, right? We also work with doctors, etc., to see how some of our technologies can be applied to certain, or how we can solve certain problems. And I mean, we're working on various things, but one of the things that maybe I wanted to showcase is something that I'm very passionate about, which is, to me is another superhuman capability. Like, what if it can be like you were showing in a different place instantly? Why do I need to travel, right? Why do I have to do physical travel if I can instantly be in different places? How can we communicate different? I mean, we're already using Zoom or, our cell phones to call each other. But what is the future of telecommunication? It's basically what you see in Star Wars, a hologram, being able to see people that you haven't met for a very long time close again. And I think this will happen, especially when you see big heavyweights like Apple trying to transform how interactive devices are going to look like. And we're talking, of course, about augmented and virtual reality. Here's an example of another device from Microsoft called HoloLens. And you can see, again, just like these self-driving cars, it's packed not only with sensors, but it's a full stack AI solution in there. It's localizing where your head is. It's trying to digitize the entire environment around you. And it's also displaying things three-dimensionally so that everything feels seamless. So these are very, very difficult technology. Hundreds of people, like with PhDs and everything, are working behind these technologies, really to build something that we can do, right? So, and this is my, my old lab and one of my PhD students. We actually work on the first technologies together with the company Oculus, which is, of course, Meta, on how can we use VR headsets to drive another avatar. I mean, what is the problem? If I wear that headset, I don't know what my facial expressions are. I mean, you can put a camera outside, but my whole face is blocked. So while wearing that, how do we capture the face? So our first prototype, this is not how things work nowadays, but was to put sensor on the person's face, basically on the gauge, on the foam pad, and it's measuring all these signals based on your muscle activation. So we were using artificial intelligence to translate these signals into the performance of an actor. So that was one of the very first prototypes of telepresence. And fast forward a couple of years, this is where Meta is at now, right? This is what Mark Zuckerberg is basically showing in all of his keynotes, which is in a couple of years, you'll be able to, the main problem here is that these computers are still too big to put on your head. So the thing that you have on your head is not powerful enough, but this is where things are going. This is potentially the way we might communicate in the future, seeing a three-dimensional other person. But I'm not just interested in digital humans, we're also working on how do we digitize the entire world. Right now you have surveillance cameras, but I think the future is going to be 3D because we live in a three-dimensional world. So this is a glimpse of one of my students walking around Masdar City, so the campus of Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. He literally just walked around, filmed 5 minutes of footage using his iPhone. We took all the data out, put it into a deep neural network, and it's producing an interactive scene that plays like a video game. You just walk around and you create a video game and you can simulate, flying a drone around Masdar City, and it looks even like a real interactive photo. So that's one of the technologies that we're building right now.
So incredible work again, and it's so interesting again to see this very close connection between research and then real product integration. So how meaningful this work actually is working on these AI technologies, on this future AI. So I know you raised your hands, you're using AI. By show of hands, how many of you actually know how these systems work? Like if we say LLM or, kind of. Okay, that's great. That's actually a great segue. I think we should do a little primer on how these systems actually work. So what's behind the scenes when we interact with these kind of systems? And
yeah, let me not just show you what we can do, let me actually give a little crash course about how artificial intelligence works. So first of all, the artificial intelligence we have nowadays is very different than what people have been working, 2 decades ago, right? What we're doing now, surprisingly, is the technology that was developed in the 70s. But suddenly, things have changed. Basically, people have much better computers, and these are the chips that were designed for video games. Video games looking better. They are used for all the AI we're developing nowadays. They are basically the brain behind it. And what's interesting is that they are bio-inspired. They're really inspired how the brain works. Brains are basically many, many neurons that actually react to electric signals. So instead of having electric signals, what you have is you have information. Information in the form of just numbers, in the form of vectors. So it's basically just a bunch of numbers that come into no longer a biological neuron, but an artificial neuron. That's what you see here. The thing that looks like math and then a few things that looks a bit like circuits. It's basically how a very basic artificial neural network looks like. You have an input on one side and you have an output. What it's doing is transforming numbers into other numbers. And in the beginning, it doesn't make any sense. But when you take hundreds of thousands of those, stack them into different layers, you actually build what is called a deep neural network. So how does it work? You provide data into it. Data gets transformed into these numbers. And then when you input them, you actually try to modify the network, but by training what we call training parameters, and the output becomes what you want it to be. For example, I input images of dogs and cats. Every time I have a dog, I say, now it has to come out as a dog, meaning that it would output the number 1. Now it has to output as a cat, then the output would be 0. So if I put sufficiently large numbers of input data, the network knows by itself next time I can put an input image that was never there, it can make a decision. And that's what we call a classifier. So let me take a picture of a dog. It's actually my dog. And I convert that into numbers, and then I train this classifier network, which turns it into a 0 or a 1. And then that's the very basic of a deep neural network. But we're here today to show you the really cool deep neural network that works by making it creative. The way it works is, really imagine I'm turning this thing around. Instead of having an input image as input and numbers as output, I take a number as input, which is just a bunch of numbers, and I make the network generate content. That's called generative AI. And then I can use another network to make it better and better, right? So that's called a discriminator. These two things combined basically form the crown jewel of generative AI, and one of these inventions is called a generative adversarial network. This was invented by a guy called Ian Goodfellow. He worked at Google and Apple for a while. And over the years, companies like NVIDIA, who are building these really powerful chips in your game consoles, in your gaming PCs, are used now for artificial intelligence. They make a lot of improvements over the year. And you can see, right? So this is how the training works. You train it, and the network imagines a face. The way to think about this, you put some numbers in it through this deep neural network, and somehow a face comes out. Really weird. And this is where we're at nowadays. You can basically have the ability to generate faces that don't exist. And me and my research lab, one of the things that we wanted to do is to say, how can we use that technology to make people to bring people to life, remember? So here's an example. So an input video of, one of our researchers, a few photographs of people. We've never seen any other expressions of people, and he can bring their faces to life. The AI imagines the facial expressions of these people. So AI is growing extremely rapidly these days. In the past 1 or 2 years, we're seeing another revolution. It's called diffusion models. Instead of training a network, for example, only on dog faces or human faces, on cars, on buildings, you can put any data into it. That's what we call generalized domains. And what you can do, for example, is you can have a text prompt and say, input a teddy bear with toy poodle eating bagel in Dubai, and that's the image that it generates. It starts to imagine things. So I can use the same thing to create artworks, right? I show a few input images, example images of myself. It starts to create paintings of my face. You can also do anything you want with it. You can take any person. So 2 things here. These are really, really entertaining pictures, but be responsible for the content that you're creating. I think it's really important that we as scientists, when we develop these technologies, to have people be careful. And the second thing is, don't believe anything you see on the internet, right? So another thing that's really impressive is not only to generate images. These are research from just the past couple of months where people have shown that from a text input, you can generate videos. And this is really, really early research. It still looks really, you're going to see, it looks a little creepy, but it is possible to generate films. And what are they going to generate in the next couple of months or years? So I'm going to show you how this looks like. This is, I think the text prompt is generate an advertisement with burgers or fast food burgers. And it generates these weird images, right? And it's just like a text prompt, and then it just generates really weird things. And I think it doesn't work well when people interact with foods.
So seeing something like this, you always have to imagine this is very emerging technology, right? In a few months from now or in half a year from now, this might be at a very cinematic level. I imagine you can be a movie director by just describing a story you would like to see in a short movie.
So what this means is also where things are going at is, I think in the near future, and just look at all the tech companies, they're not, YouTube. You go on YouTube, you can find videos, but this basically means you will have a YouTube soon that you can generate anything you want. I want to see whatever, it will just generate it. So really think about, when we have to be very careful when we build these technologies to make sure people are not using it for malicious purposes, right? But if we see it from a positive things, we can do so many great things.
Absolutely, 100%. Now you see it says demo there, so we're going to have some very exciting research to show to you. Like to see some of these neural renders maybe in action.
Yeah, let me show you a demo. So one of the technologies that we've built a couple of years ago was the first technology that can turn you into whoever you want, right? And this is something that we presented at the World Economic Forum in Davos, also at SIGGRAPH 2020. And this is sort of like one of the core technologies behind the filters you have nowadays. So why don't I just show you that in action, and we can see how it works.
Are you having fun so far? Yeah? All right. Let's keep going.
It's going to be this demo. I have 2 demos for you guys. Okay, so if you look into here, and I think you should look into one of these cameras. I'm going to see which one it is. It is this one. Okay. All right. So, can you guys see the blue face? Oh, wait. I'm standing in front of it. So, can you guys see the blue face? Yes. So, the blue face is what is called a face tracker. So, if I go in, it would track my face. And that's a real-time face tracker. The face tracker tries to detect where the face is, and is fitting a 3-dimensional model onto his face. So if he does crazy expression, if you open your mouth, it's moving with it. So this is extracting the expression. By extracting the expression, we take the expression as a condition to our deep neural network, and then I can turn him into, I don't know, I can turn you into Lionel Messi. There you go. How about Leonardo DiCaprio? Will Smith. So you have to look at
Hey. Who's that?
that. Looks a bit like me.
Let's see.
Oh, no.
Oh, let's see.
Let's fix your hair a little bit. So this technology is called face replacement. So what it's doing is taking him and it's putting another person's face onto him. So what we're going to show you now is a different demo. We're not putting a face of someone onto him. We're going to take a photograph and he's going to reenact that photograph. So this is what you see actually over here. Same setup, it's just a simple webcam. On the left, you have the input photograph, so we can find, so let's take your favorite soccer player. And you can see that it's in real time bringing him to action. He can be Barbie.
$1 billion.
Steve Jobs.
It's a phone, it's an iPod, it's the internet in your pocket. It's a phone, it's an iPod, you're getting it?
So here we have our provost from our school.
Come study with us, please.
And then a K-pop star. All right, that's a quick demo.
Wow.
Like a few things behind the scenes. And by the way, the student who's working on that, he is somewhere here. He's over there. He's taking a picture. He's trying to hide. So he's actually there, controlling it. That's how he looks like. Oh, yes, questions. Yes, please. Come on, come on.
How are you doing? Hello.
What's your name? Mohammed. Nice. Come on, come on, Mohammed.
Let's do a demo.
All right. So, look into here. So you can go closer to, the closer you get, the better. So we can stand. So, who do you want to become?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
DiCaprio, yes. All right, let's do this. Okay. So you can actually move closer and you can see it.
Do I go left or right?
Yeah, you can, up to you. You just look at here, that camera. Yeah. You have to stand here. So this camera. So, yeah, you can actually come closer. Yeah, now stand up and look at that. Nice, right? So you can say something to the world.
Okay. We're gonna have a movie.
Did you win an Oscar?
Maybe more than once.
All right, you can be, let's see who else. Marco, let's be Marco. What do you think about Marco?
Very smart. What about you?
Huh? Oh, you want to be myself? Okay. Oh, no.
So we can see, like, compare.
What happens when we're both in there? You have to look in?
Gets confused.
Oh, gets confused, yes. Very smart. I think you want to do something on AI later? You should use it. You should use it.
I'd use it. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you, Mohammed.
That was fun.
So,
we're still in demo mode. I have prepared some
let's check out what you have.
some more demos. I was thinking about some of the use cases where this all comes together, the generative AI, the metaverse, the spatial computing. I'm gonna step over here again. I just checked my system. It looks like it's overheating a little bit, so I hope it's not gonna be too stuttery. But let's try to have some fun with it. Maybe a quick over, yeah, it's a little bit stuttery, but it's gonna recover in just a second, I hope. Or not? Come on. Otherwise, I'm gonna turn it off and we do it after the Q&A.
Oh, it's
Here we
working.
are. Okay, let's see if it's gonna work well. So if we have a system like that, what could we do with it? Let's, for example, imagine a trip to an imaginary space station in low Earth orbit. Let's be a space tourist to learn about the commercialization of space and the new space economy. Oh, I think up there, I'm not sure if, is this Sultan from the Emirates taking a spacewalk? Wow. Or we could invite all of you to take a virtual field trip on Mars, maybe. Now, this here isn't the artist's impression. This 3D landscape has been generated by photographic images that NASA's Curiosity rover sent back to Earth. Audience members can join in virtual reality or via live broadcast, and we can give you an experience that truly connects you with the scientific community. We can share the adventures and discoveries of science in new and exciting ways and shrink that gulf that sometimes separates ideas from understanding. Now, at the corporate level, the metaverse is already taking shape. Digital spaces are mimicking the real world, creating experiences that will be powered by digital currencies and digital assets that can be exchanged between digital identities. Now, the business and corporate world, undoubtedly spurred on by the pandemic, is seeking virtual spaces in which to share knowledge, experience, and even to work. Now, what this setup here on stage makes possible is that actually anyone can participate in the metaverse. You can create and expand and change our environments and create virtual worlds in which to blend the simulated and the real in new and exciting ways. And I have to apologize that it's freezing a little bit here and there. As I said, my laptop is a little bit overheating. However, I would like to show you one more demo. And this demo is inspired actually by what Sultan said when he introduced this event. He mentioned Arthur C. Clarke, which said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from illusion. But you could also say that any sufficiently advanced illusion becomes indistinguishable from technology. And the metaverse is the perfect place to prototype these new technologies, even if they do not yet exist. So these drones, for example, try this. 100 years ago, that would have been the magic of levitation. Jump. An unknown technology used to create an illusion. Let's try to add another one. Now for you, this is not a mystery. Advanced algorithms allow these autonomous machines to, come on over here, to fly in close formation, aware of each other, aware of me. Mathematics that can be mistaken for intelligence, and intelligence for personality. Now, does such a thing exist? In fact, this is another example of using illusion and storyteller to render our imagination. An illusion that takes place in our mind. Technology plus illusion gives us a glimpse into the future. Thank you, guys. Come on. Thank you. There you go. Thank you very much. All right. I'm happy this worked sufficiently well. Thank you.
Well, I think this is incredible. And I'm already thinking about use cases of using these drones. I mean, you can use it to save lives. You can use it in, being able to fly these things in very difficult places. I think that's, one thing that, people are still trying to figure out. And also not just to fly them around to sense things, but also to measure things that potentially can help us with climate change, etc. Right? So there's really a lot of use cases here. So one thing that is, really important for us scientists is not just to develop, new technologies, but we need to think about what is our aim? What is our goal? What are applications that we haven't thought about, right? Whenever you have one key application, you can think about like, I want to commercialize this, I can be CEO of a startup company. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. So one of the things that we recently discovered, we never thought about that, was that the technology that I was showing you before, you might think of, these are like these filters, but what if we can use that to do something that I think is really meaningful? One of these applications we recently discovered is how can we make people speak any language we want, right? I wish I could speak Arabic, I wish I could speak Spanish fluently, or whichever language, right? And the idea is that we can use these neural rendering technology for facial manipulation to lip sync perfectly content. And we're not the only people working on that. Google, for instance, recently introduced a technology called the Google Universal Translator. What it does is that you upload YouTube videos, for example, educational material, and it allows you, by the press of a button, to make people speak any language. So what we're doing at our startup company is that we're trying to bring this technology to movies. Movies are much harder because they have very high resolution, HD, 4K sometimes, and what you need to do is deal with very limited amount of training data. So I'm going to show you a glimpse of what we're actually working on with a company called Netflix. So here's an example of a movie. The movie was German-Polish in the beginning, and what they do is when you watch these movies, that are foreign language movies, either you read the subtitles and it's like you miss half of the movie, or you hear the dubbing that doesn't match the lips, so you get a headache. So the idea is that we will use the technology that you've just seen to match the lips perfectly to movies. I'm going to show you how that works.
Ich habe gelesen,
Original
dass Boxen
language?
wie Schachspielen ist.
Rudi, ab ins Bett.
We read up by filming the person.
I've read that boxing is like playing chess.
Rudi, auf to bed.
I've read that boxing is like playing chess.
Rudi, auf to bed.
Right? So the AI automatically matches the lip movement to make that person speak the target language. Here's an example. This is an input video of the actor speaking English. Could be another person too. And he is speaking on the right.
Is even possible. You can do anything, Commandant.
Right? So you can see this is a much higher, this is not real time. It requires a lot more power. What you've just seen is like every second we're trying to display 25 to 30 frames. This one takes minutes to calculate for one frame. So if you run longer, the quality becomes better and better, right? Remember the slide where the face improves? It's kind of like how it works. And one thing that's really hard in movies is faces might not look frontal to the camera, they might look to the side. So these are the kind of problems that we have to deal with.
If I don't fix it, there'll be problems. This is Helcha. Helcha. Bow to Mr. Baxter.
Right? So this is a glimpse to show you what we can do with technology, right? So what kind of applications, how important it is to explore and to work together with visionaries.
So thank you very much for listening to all of this. I hope this sparked some comments, questions, suggestions. So we have a microphone. We would like to have a short conversation with you guys. If anybody has a comment or a question, yes? Can we get the microphone out?
What is the question?
Maybe you can tell us who you are and
Okay.
what your question is.
My name Muhammad Khalid Al-Mheri. I am from Khalifa bin Zayed Lawal School. My question, how did you be in the green screen and do all that?
Okay, so a very quick explanation is I have a laptop, which is it's a gaming laptop. It has a very strong, powerful graphics card in it. On top of the laptop is a little camera, this camera here, and then here is a sensor. And the sensor can track my body in 3D. And maybe to give you a quick idea of how this works, should have brought my glasses, then it would be easier to show it to you. Hold on. Maybe we can very quickly show the output of my system. So this is what the system sees. It sees it sideways, so I get as many pixels as I can possibly get. Then I'm gonna cut myself out, just like this, so it's clean, so it's only green. Then the computer can remove the green and put me on a transparent background, just like this. And then after, I can be put into a three-dimensional world. And let me quickly load one of the worlds and go to a camera view where you can see me. Hold on. And so I have these virtual cameras which I can now move around. So how do these worlds get created? The worlds get created in a game engine. It's called Unreal Engine. And the interesting thing actually about this system here is that the tools I use here, they're available for free. You can all experiment with these kind of tools. You can download Unreal Engine, you can use a little webcam, and you can create your beautiful worlds, like for example, here is Mars. And I can put myself on Mars and have a Curiosity rover right there coming in. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. Are you a magician or technology?
That's a very interesting question. So I started my career as an illusionist. I was always interested in telling stories about the future in my magic. And then some companies and organizations discovered that that can be very useful, this kind of thinking for their organizations. That whenever you think about future technologies, you need somebody who's good at telling the story of these technologies and who can build prototypes of these technologies. So these days I'm no longer an illusionist, I'm more of a creative technologist or a person who creates narratives using technology.
Maybe to add to that, right? So people who, you know, like Marco and many professors, for instance, when you're at a certain level of, you know, you have a certain level of expertise, at some point you become also consultant to many different organizations. So for example, Marco, actually myself as well, I've consulted Disney. So you work with, you know, different companies and they need to work with specific people who know certain things, right? And sometimes it's always these really, you know, moonshot projects that you work on. And I think this is great. So we get to work on like really, you know, things that are very unique.
Should we take a last question? I think we don't have so much time.
Over there.
We have a question up there.
Excuse me? I want to ask a question.
Okay, one there and then one up there. Okay. Okay.
So my question is from a different perspective, okay? So right now we know that one day AI will take over the world, like technology in general, okay? Don't you think it's kind of unsafe? Because, for example, right now your laptop overheated and you couldn't do anything about it. It's out of your hands, right? Don't you think that one day maybe the technology will be out of our hands, which we can't do anything about it? It's not safe, you know?
Also, maybe quickly about the overheating. I always try in my presentations to do something which can be replicated by the audience, right? So I didn't bring a supercomputer. I brought an inexpensive laptop to show what's possible for all of you to do. You don't need to have a supercomputer to do that. So that's kind of how we got out of hand here. I think what's interesting about the AI right now is that we are very aware of that there are potential risks, biases, but I think there has never been a technology where so early in the development, such a large group of people has started talking about it. So that gives me a lot of hope that we can solve the problems that AI might introduce to our lives, because so many people are involved in it. The other thing is that AI is one of the first technologies ever where you don't really need to be a technologist to have a voice. Everybody is invited to create and experiment and point at risks or opportunities. So in that sense, I'm very positive about it. I understand there are risks, but I think we will just manage.
Yeah, I think I think this, you have to be really careful. I mean, there's always two sides to these things, right? So obviously you can easily imagine how it can be used for malicious purposes or something that's very dangerous. But I think as developers or researchers, it's really important for us to make sure that we are trained and we're developing for something that's safe and also healthy for us to use. But in some ways, you can also think of like, this is a repeating pattern in history. When the internet came out, people were also, thinking about, well, what if everyone has now access to all the information? Do we still need experts, right? But we do. We adapt to the technology. The problem is going to be if you don't adapt to the use of AI, that is going to be when you may become extinct. And I think this sounds kind of dark, but I think this is the truth. Just imagine nowadays, if you say, I refuse to use the internet. I mean, you will be highly disadvantaged over someone who uses it. And it has nothing to do with the other person being smarter or you're being smarter. It is really about whether you will use the technology or not. Imagine going to a doctor that refuses to use technology. That is, I think it's a very similar way of thinking. And at some point, the whole point is to actually give us superhuman capabilities that, will improve things. But we have to stay, we really have to like make sure that our goal is set in the right place. And this is what our responsibility is as humans.
100%. I think we have one last question up on the balcony.
Hi, my name is Hamda. I have a question for the synchronization. Is there an app for it or no?
Which one?
The photo.
Oh, the photo app?
Yes.
There are some apps that use similar technology where you basically can download something and you can actually create it. There are some companies that are doing it. One is called, I think, Reface. There's another one called Impressions app. But these things evolve all the time. And also in those bigger social media apps like Snapchat or TikTok, they incorporate that into their video sharing apps.
Do you have your own one?
Yes, we develop these technologies ourselves. So what we do is we develop the technologies, we publish our results and research papers, and then companies, they either license the technologies from us or they would re-implement those things. And really depends on what kind of applications. And sometimes we productize them ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so final, thank you very much for your question. Final question. We have one more. Okay, you already have the microphone. Please go ahead.
Hello, hi, my name is Nida. I'm interested in engineering. Will I be able to work in AI after that?
Sorry?
I'm interested in engineering.
Yes.
Will I be able to pursue a career in AI after that?
Absolutely. And I think, the thing that I think, I've been professor for quite some time now. I've been educating people, and many of my students have become very successful. And I've been working with a lot of people from various fields. The point is, artificial intelligence is a rapidly emerging field. It's changing so quickly that even the background I had in my past is, I have to learn myself all the time. So that's why it's a completely wrong way of thinking in terms of I need to study engineering and all these things to do something that is artificial intelligence or something that in 3 years I don't even know what it is. But the point is you need to adapt to things really quickly. I've seen biologists that are some of the most brilliant AI scientists. So the background, it could be anything. But in the end, you should use AI. You should adapt to what AI can do. But most importantly, you should learn a lot of things by yourself and work with the right people on the right things.
And maybe to add to this, you guys are so incredibly lucky because literally just around the corner is one of the only places in the world which is dedicated to the study of artificial intelligence, right? We have a university here with incredible professors who do exactly that. So you should be very close to inspirations. So I think we're gonna wrap up the Q&A, but you're gonna have a chance to talk to us right after. We actually have a little something extra to continue, which is a puzzle. You probably all recognize this, right? Like raise your hand if you know what this is. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. That's a Rubik's Cube, one of the most difficult puzzles in the world today. And I brought a few Rubik's Cubes with me. It was invented in the 70s. Over 150 million of those were sold. Most of them are at people's houses and look somewhat like this. They're unsolved because they're so hard to solve. So I'm gonna need your help. Don't worry, you don't have to solve these cubes. What I want you to do is to mix up these cubes as much as you can, as quickly as you can, and maybe the music a little less loud. I'm gonna hand out just a few of these cubes. Can you just mix it up very quickly for me? Thank you, that's a great group of people. Yeah, let's keep this quickly. No, you cannot help me. Okay. Let's have a few more here, here. That's it. Mix it up as quickly as you can, as fast as you can. Let's start getting them back. That's okay. It's not to keep. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. What did you do? Oh, your trouble. Okay, almost solved. We have more here. That's it. Let's get them back. Thank you very much. Let's get them back very quickly. Come on, guys. Oh, what an incredible talent. Is that it? One last one. Three in a row. Okay, you're pretty good. You try to solve it or you try to mess it up? Okay, is there one more? What did you do? Oh my God. All right, let's see if that's gonna work. All right, there we go. So thank you very much for the help. Gee, who did this? This is crazy. Okay, I'm not gonna select any of these. You know what? Like, how could you give me a hand? So I think we're gonna go next. I want you to just pick one of these cubes and hand it to me.
Which one?
And anyone you like. I'm not gonna look.
That one?
Quick decision. Oh, thank you. So guys, we've been talking about neural nets, right? Let me give this a few spins. Not sure if I can get this right so quickly. Something like this. So, if we would say this is the demo of a neural net, right? Then let's go adversarial, right? Let's do an adversarial neural net. Let's have another cube. This time, the cube, I'm not gonna touch the cube. So could you just pick another cube? And hold it up. And like slowly spin it for me. Okay, and show me this side. Who did this one? Okay, let me try something here. Okay, can I have it? So we have two cubes which are completely mixed up. But side number one is a perfect match. Side number two, number three, number 4, 5, and 6. Thank you very much. Well, the Rubik's Cube is not an easy puzzle, but its design is elegant. And I think it taps into this universal desire to solve problems, to wring meaning from chaos. I think puzzles are one of the things that make us human, who have taken us to where we are now, discovering the secrets that make up our world. And whether you're an artist, scientist, or philosopher, or just simply trying to figure out the cheapest airfare on the internet, or asking ChatGPT to help you with your homework. I think we all share the same joy when we discover one of those secrets, that aha moment. When everything makes sense and you can smile at the sheer simplicity of it all. Well, thank you for helping me with this. So, why did we show you this puzzle, right? What does that have to do with AI? Let me see if I can forward the slide. I think we're stuck on the slide. So, let's see if it's gonna flip. So the reason I showed it is I used ChatGPT when I created this puzzle. And I asked ChatGPT what it thought of the script of this routine, and if it could help me or maybe be a critique for this. And my magical clicker. And I want to show you what it said, what it came back with. And can we advance the slide to the next slide, maybe in the, because I cannot do it. There's somebody on the slide deck upstairs. So, to cover the space, this is what it came up. Can we have the slides back? This is what it came back with. It said, well, the script was very good. It's a good routine. You interact with the audience. There's some quotes. There's a nice pacing, interactions. But you could conclude your presentation by actually offering some practical takeaways, to give something to the audience which they can take with them to help you when you work with generative AI and when you use these tools. So here,
I think we should have a couple of takeaway messages. So here are some of the tasks that we've used generative AI for what might help you with your creative work.
So to start with, when you use generative AI, what it helps me with is what we call the blank canvas. Sometimes you start a project and you don't know how to start. So with generative AI, you only state your problem and it will generate solutions for you very quickly. Now, these solutions might not be good solutions. They will be maybe the most obvious solutions, but they lay the foundation and they get you started very, very quickly.
Exploration and imagination. So AI enables us to explore diverse ideas. Ideas that we may not have considered until prompted. It draws from across all disciplines. We can imagine anything and see it realized in concrete form and variety indefinitely until it meets our expectation or inspires us in new directions.
And best of all, it does that instantly. We have more ideas than we have time. And this rapid iteration of ideas is something we have never seen before. It's unique to using generative AI.
While AI can push boundaries and confront the norms, we can also define AI as a kind of collaborator we want, AI to be. So AI can be personalized and attuned to our tastes and create a vision. You can work toward a specific goal, the parameters of which you control, rather than being sidetracked. And you'll never have an argument with your AI collaborator.
And having created a project, we can invite the AI to analyze it and compare it to works we already admire or enjoy, to highlight the strengths of what we did and point out the flaws, like I did with the Rubik's Cube routine. AI is a collaborator, it's an audience, it's a critique. It gives artists, researchers, students an opportunity for risk-free trial of an idea, a preview of what you might make without tears. So we have a few closing remarks for you, and then we're going to ask for your question. But let's give you some additional advice on the road. Now, AI is undoubtedly one of the most powerful technologies we have ever discovered. How it will change the world, we do not yet know.
But there is no rush to change the world tomorrow. AI moves so rapidly that if we did, we will have to change it again the day after and the day after that.
So give AI time to grow and mature as you are growing and maturing.
And meanwhile, I encourage everyone to explore AI and really play with it.
So don't just try one thing. Don't just make a poem or use it to generate images. Like, try to use it, give it a fair chance, and try many different things.
So AI is really an extraordinary tool, right? It's something that, in the hands of an artist, can become a masterpiece.
So be creative. Think of how you can use it in your studies, in your work, in your business, in your future endeavors. Examine what you believe to be true. Test future hypotheses. Make AI your advocate or your angel. Ask not only what works, but also ask what doesn't.
And really, become one of the explorers in everything, right? Be part of the conversation and really know how to use it.
And even if AI can deceive you, enjoy it, because sometimes these illusions can conceal the truth.
And I think it's true, what you just mentioned there, right? So for the first time, we don't have just a technology that can be used by, experts. It's something that can be used in the hands of everybody.
And how AI is going to affect our lives will not be determined by the algorithms. It will be informed by what you do with it.
And it will be realized by those who find innovative ways to use the most creative piece of technology the world has ever seen.
And so in a way, this opportunity to determine our future is open to all of you. So I hope you had some insights and excitement here. We actually thank you very much.